Hi everybody, welcome to Angling Addicts. This is Grant, and this is session 2 of our weekly fly tying. We're going to tie a pattern today, and there's different variations of this pattern that we use, but we're going to tie a chironomid, and it's a fairly large chironomid. It's used for stillwater lakes. The one that we're tying for is Pyramid Lake. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it was on my bucket list for a long, long time. We've been out there the last couple years and been able to catch some impressive fish. So the lake's about 45 miles outside of Reno. And so there are fish that average 20 to 22 inches and they go all the way up to 30 plus pounds. We've been able to, in our party to get 3 over 10 pounds and 1 over 15 pounds. So we're still searching for that elusive 20-pound plus fish, and we're hoping next trip we're going to be able to use these flies and be able to highlight these flies in the mouth of a big old fish. So this chironomid pattern is called the snow cone because it uses a white or pearl bead. Now there's different variations of this fly that people use that are very, very effective. Sometimes they like red, sometimes they like black, sometimes they like olive, and sometimes they like a brown colors. But those are the four basic that tend to be tied and work really well out there. So when I tie this wine holographic material, I use some silver wire that's a fine wire. I also use silver when I do just the straight red. Now we put on super glue to make them tough. These guys have big teeth, and they'll shred a fly up pretty good unless you're able to coat it with some resin or some super glue or something of that sort. And the one that we're going to be tying today and stocking up on is the black snow cone. Now with the black snow cone, I like to use a red wire, a red fine wire. We tie it on a 1/8 inch pearl or white bead, and then the hook that we like to use is a number 10, and this is a curved 2x nymph hook, so it's double strong for those if we hook into one of those big, big fish. So really quickly, this is a very, very simple fly to tie. We're going to go ahead and get the hook or the line attached to the fly. I like to do it up by the head on this pattern. It makes it because we're going to build and taper to the top anyway. We want the bottom to be nice and thin, and then we want it to get thicker as it goes towards the top. And so I like it nice and thin here at the bottom. So got a little crazy and hit that hook point. And it's best to use a heavier thread when you're doing a chironomid this big. So I like a 3/0 or an A size. And we work it up to the top here. We want to be able to secure that bead on once we build that body up. So I like to start building it just past the hook point and tapering it towards the top of the bead. This is what's going to take the longest, but these flies are simple. Anybody can tie them, and they're very effective. They're fished under an indicator, like you would if you're throwing nymphs down a river. And it's best when the wind's blowing in your face down there, and the waves are kind of crashing into you a little bit. It gives this somewhat of a jigging motion. You're able to have two flies. They must be barbless, but they kind of just go up and down. And I often like to put on a red one and a black one and see which one they're most interested in, and then switch the other over. So they tend to be kind of like a steelhead. They're either on the bite or they're off the bite. So they can be a frustrating fish. Some days you can have just an outstanding day, and the next day you can get skunked on the water, and that's never any fun. But these fish will test you. You don't catch trophy or big fish easily in a lot of cases, but when you do hook into a nice big one and you're able to land that, man, it'll make the whole trip for you. So it's definitely worth it. People fly from all over the world to go fish Lake Pyramid. We're going to show you a couple of examples of fish that have been caught by our party at the end of this video. So we're going to put a little whip finish off of here and throw some super glue on and then show you those pictures. And hopefully it will inspire you to tie some flies here and get out in the water. So real simple. Super glue takes a minute to dry, but I have a couple different vices. This one's rotary vise and nothing real fancy, but I do want to be able to put glue all the way from head to tail, rotate it, make sure that it gets fully coated for their sharp teeth. Spin it just a bit, and while I'm spinning it, I grab those pictures, and these are two of the better fish that we've caught there. So definitely you can see that we usually use an 8-weight rod. There's lots of people who throw a spey rod and go down to 4, 5, 6. Yeah, because those spey rods are usually a little more powerful, they're longer. But for a 9-foot single hand 8-weight rod, what we think is ideal, usually throw the indicators, these chironomids on an indicator 8-weight floating line. And when we are stripping in, we usually just throw a sinking line, either an intermediate when it's mossy, or a heavy sink line when it's not mossy, so it's dragging the bottom in the sand. And we tie streamers as well, popcorn beetles, the booby fly, and different balanced leech patterns. They all work really, really well. And so our first video is one that we tied in a rust that worked really, really well. And we were able to apply that to some bass around here in a river that I've never fished called the Bear River, with a fly rod anyway. We got some catfish and we got some smallmouth bass. So, but this is the intended target for these flies, and hopefully we'll be able to show one of these actual flies in the hook of a monster like this. So remember, angling addicts, recovery is not an option. Tight lines, everybody.